And now it's time for Healing from Within with your host, Tony Valen.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Healing from Within. I'm your host, Tony Valen. You can contact me, Tony@TonyValen.com, or visit our website, healingfromwithin.net. Follow the show on Twitter @TVHFW. Joining us on today's show is Lisa Williams. Lisa is a worldwide renowned psychic, medium, teacher, author, fellow Blog Talk Radio show host, and lifetime TV personality. You can learn more about Lisa at lisawilliams.com or follow her on Twitter @LWMedium. Lisa, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me on your show.
Well, thank you. We really are big fans, and I know a lot of my listeners are also fans. So the first question I wanted to ask you, Lisa, is can you tell us about your gifts and how your journey started?
Well, I mean, my journey is a lot like everybody else's. I think everybody in this world, really, we are, it's not uncommon to have these gifts as a child. My story, I started to see spirit when I was about, 3 or 4, excuse me. And, I thought everybody saw dead people. I thought everybody could tell when things were going to happen. I thought everybody knew that spirit were around them. And it was actually from my grandmother, who was a medium, that said to me that you'll continue with my work. And I thought she was completely off her head and a bit cuckoo and a little bit crazy, as you do. And she said, no, Lisa, you'll be in America. You'll be famous. You'll be standing on stage in front of hundreds and thousands of people. And I was like, yeah, right. Okay, whatever. And then it all started to happen. She died and didn't teach me a thing. I mean, really, how dare you? Yeah. But she appeared on my bed as large as life as I'm literally talking to you. And I was like, oh my God, go away now. And I can't deal with this. Yeah. And that's when my journey started. And I started to see things, feel things, know things a little bit more than what happened when I was a child. And it just slowly developed, and I started to develop it just on my own, really. I never took a class. I never did anything else. I just started to develop it slowly, and that's what happened.
Wow. How long did it take you to feel confident enough to say, I'm a medium, this is the work I do?
I don't think anyone's as confident to say that. Well, let me tell you a little story. All I've learned is, when you go through immigration in America, as you're coming back into the country, never tell them you're a medium. Never tell them you're a psychic. So that's when. So I think we'll always have those moments where we're never confident to say it, and certainly that is one of those times. But it took me probably, and I will say this, probably up until the last 5 years, to actually own it. Even though I was on TV, even though I've done a lot of stuff before then, there were still moments where I thought people aren't going to accept it. But the more I've been out in the world, the more I've toured, the more I've done this stuff. I'm now like, I'm a medium, and if you don't believe me, it's tough. So, and quite honestly, it's still an ongoing process. You kind of coming always out. You're always coming out. And I've learned now, and it's like, so for instance, I'm online dating, and, I've learned now just to come out with it straight at the very beginning. And as soon as you see that you can't communicate with them, makes you realize, oh, they've blocked me because they don't believe. So it's quite interesting.
Right. And how do you grow your gifts?
Well, I think your gift, it's like a singer, and this is how I always explain it. So everyone can sing. Some people really should not get out of that shower singing, okay? Some people should stay in there, okay, and then as they come out, or in their car, and that's it. And then there are others who have a raw talent, and they, with just a little bit of training, a little bit of coaching, guidance, that they could really become the next, America's Got Talent or whatever. And it's incredible to see. And so our gift, we've all got a gift. It just depends upon how much we're prepared to invest. It depends on how much time we're prepared to nurture it and to develop it. And really, we can always develop it by practicing just simple things in the day. If you're standing in front of a bank of elevators, you press the button and go and stand in front of the one that you think is going to come. Or you check into a hotel and you think about what floor you're going to be on. So there's many ways that you can actually continually train and, get yourself into that mindset, whether or not you're doing a reading.
Tell us about the way you receive messages. What is your process? Because I know everyone has a different way of doing it.
Well, yeah, everyone does. I don't meditate before I do a reading. I've got to say, I really don't. A lot of people say, oh, do you meditate? And I used to, but I don't anymore. For me, it's like a light switch. Mm-hmm. It really is like a light switch. I say this thing, I ask my spirit guides, angels and loved ones to come forward and help me connect from this world to the next. I ask for the information to come through clearly, concisely and accurately in a way that my client will understand. So I set an intention. Mm-hmm. And then when I'm on the phone to my client, or I'm in front of an audience or whoever it is, I will always say, do you want to know everything? And then they'll say yes or no. And I'll say, okay, but if you want to know everything, then great. But please let me know. If you don't want to know everything, then please let me know. But until that moment, I will completely surrender to spirit. And by just saying those words, completely surrender to spirit, is almost a trigger for me of an opening up, because it's like the trigger is I am just going to surrender to spirit. And so I'm, again, setting an intention of what I do. Mm. So it's like an intention. And then I receive my messages from, I'm predominantly clairaudient, which means I hear things more so. And then I will also see things, I'll feel things, I'll sense things, I'll know things. So I use all my 5 senses, including my 6th sense of knowing, to actually get a message across to my client.
Mm. And what made you change your mind about meditation, or because some of the people that I talk to are very methodical and they feel they have to follow these steps in order to connect. What changed your way of doing things?
Well, quite honestly, I think what changed my way of doing things was the fact that I realized I wasn't doing it. I actually consciously sat back and went, I don't actually meditate before a reading. In fact, I think the last time I meditated before a reading was, oh my gosh, I was back in England. So it's going to be over 8 years, 9 years ago, in fact, 10 years ago. And that was the last time I consciously remembered sitting in that meditative state and doing it. And I remember clients ringing on the bell and pulling me out of it. It was like, whoa. And they said, yeah, we didn't know whether to knock on your door again because we saw you meditating. But most of the time, as long as I just have this moment of breathing, and it's just one moment and it's a minute, and I just focus and I have 1 minute and I time myself and I breathe in and out about 6 or 7 times, I connect. Mm-hmm. It's like I say, it's a light switch. It's a process. I can do a reading in a busy nightclub. I can do a reading on the side of a street. I can do a reading in a really quiet meditation space. So for me, it's just automatically just knowing what I need to do.
That's wonderful. That definitely is a talent, because some people, they tell me they have to wait a while, warm up, and blah blah blah.
No, not with me.
Yeah. When you do how many readings can you do per day, I guess?
I mean, it's conditioning. It's like anything. We condition ourselves to do a certain thing, and so you build up. I mean, when I was in the UK and I was doing this full time, readings just full time, day in, day out, I was doing 4 to 5 readings a day, 5 days a week. But now the most I do is probably 2 readings a day. I do one at the moment. I do one every day. So I do, my 10 o'clock Eastern time reading. And then I do a couple later on in the day. So I normally have a set thing, like a Tuesday, I'll do 2 readings. A Thursday, I'll do a morning and a late night. So I'll have a late night reading tonight. And then I'll also teach. So, but I can, if I had 3 readings in a day, I'll do 3 readings. If I had 4, I'll do 4. But on a live show, I can do anywhere between 8 to 25.
Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah, it just depends.
How do you protect yourself?
Okay, so I'm going to be very, very honest with you, and I'm going to be so brutally honest. And I do protect myself, but I don't consciously do it. It's so innate in me to have that boundary of protection up. And whether it's my guides, whether it's just the format, the way I do it, whether I'm just so thick-skinned, I don't know. But I don't consciously protect. The only time I consciously protect myself is when I am either doing a big seance, whether I'm doing a trance mediumship, or when I'm in an airport or an aeroplane and I don't like the person sitting next to me. And that's when I will put up a boundary of protection. But the other times I don't believe I consciously do it. However, I do know that my spirit guides take over that for me. In a lot of ways, I don't practice what I preach. And so when I tell my students you must put up protection, I put up protection, but I don't consciously do it now. I think I've done this work for so long that I innately do it all without even consciously thinking about it. Well, does that make sense?
Absolutely, it does. Yeah, it's sort of like, well, you tell me. Do you feel like when you're going through the day, you're sort of like one foot in this world and one foot in the other, and you're just so always doing it that you're logged in, or like, I'm talking computers here, but you're already in a protective state and meditative state and all that you need to do your work, that you do it unconsciously. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I do everything unconsciously. So it's like here, I'm focusing on my interview. So this is I'm so present in my world. And I think that makes a huge difference. So I'm present in talking to you, which means I'm not focusing upon spirit. I'm not focusing upon psychic. I'm not focusing upon healing. Yet if I was going into a reading, I would then focus on my client. I would then say, okay, show me what I'm getting. So I would actually then focus upon that. So because I'm so present in each, it's like I compartmentalize throughout my day. As soon as I'm in that space, that's my focus.
Before I forget, I wanted to ask you, can you please tell our listeners what trance mediumship is?
Yeah, trance mediumship, not to be tried at home, by the way.
Okay.
Trance mediumship is really, it's when I allow a spirit to take over my body. So I do transfiguration. I allow a medium to come into my body and they talk through me. I am not part of it. You can ask questions. Lots of things will come through. So that is what trance mediumship is.
Wow. Does your voice change or anything? It does.
Yeah, my voice changes. It still sounds, like me. Only from what I've heard on recordings, I'll start speaking very broken English. I will speak with a slightly softer way. I will speak deeper. My voice goes deeper. So yes, it changes.
Very interesting. And what made you choose to be a medium, or why do you think you were chosen to be a medium?
Well, I have to say I never chose to be a medium. I never. But what happened is I suddenly was like, and it was friends of mine who were saying to me, oh, you've got the gift. And I was like, no, I haven't. No, don't be so silly. And then a friend of mine who I went out with, we were just, out one Friday night, we'd had a few drinks, and she was also a medium. And I said, look, you can't drive home. Come on, stay at mine. So she stayed at mine. And we ended up sleeping in the same room. And I said, and she's like, you've got the gift. And I went, no, I haven't. Yes, you have. No, I haven't. No, we had the argument. And she said, well, I said, I don't even know how to do it. And she said, Lisa, just try. Just tell me who you feel in this room right now. And I said, well, it's a gentleman. I believe that he's your father, but he's not your father. And he died of a heart attack. And she said, oh, my God, my adopted dad died of a heart attack 2 years ago. And I freaked myself out. I was like, oh, my God, no. Completely freaked myself out. So really, I've kind of forgotten your question, but that kind of was where I started with it. Yeah. And then it went from there. Sorry, what was your question? I was totally off tangent.
Just how do you mediumship chose you, or you chose it?
Oh, yeah. So I don't think I chose it. In fact, I know I didn't, because quite honestly, if I chose a career back then, I probably would have done something different. But here I am now, 20 years later, could not imagine myself doing anything different. But yeah, so I have very much, I think it chose me. I think I was chosen to do it.
Wonderful. Has fame made your life harder or doing your work harder?
I don't see I don't see it as fame. I'm probably one of the least ego people you'll ever meet. So, and I live in LA, and I don't see myself as famous. I don't see myself as known, although in this industry I am a very big name. But I'm just me. So I realize that my status is part of my life. I accommodate it, I adapt to it, but it is what it is. If I get recognized on the street, it's like, hey, how are you doing? Or if someone runs up to me like they have been recently and pushing my book in front of me, and I'll sign it and I'll take a picture. But really what it's done for me is it's just given me a voice. It's given me a platform to actually say, I'm a medium, who cares? And is anybody else a medium with me? And it's enabled me to instill within other people confidence to come out as a medium, confidence to come out in any way, shape, or form. But it's just instilled in me some air of a role model, really, just to be a role model for other mediums, and how it is acceptable and how we can incorporate it into our lives.
Absolutely. And what you just said, and actually, this is from you. This is the reason why I'm doing this radio show and the material I present, and because I resonate towards you, because I know that you are working from a place of love and not ego.
Absolutely, and ego will kill us. Sadly, I've seen it. I've seen my students who I teach, who I will kick an ego out and I will kick it to the curb big time. But I have seen one particular student in particular. I have seen her gift develop to such an amazing standard that I've also seen her ego grow. And I'm like, oh, that ego needs to get right in check. And I told her recently, and she couldn't see it until I videoed her and I showed her back her text, and she went, oh, and I went, yes.
Yeah.
That's how I look at it.
I mentioned that you're an author. Tell us about your books.
Oh my gosh, which one?
All of them. All of them. I like I said, I'm a big fan, so please let our listeners know.
Well, I mean, I started off with Life Among the Dead. And Life Among the Dead really was a life history. It was really me and my life. And I didn't write that, pardon the pun, I had a ghostwriter. But I filled in the blanks. A lot of it is my personality. But the other thing, so that was good. But then, and I was so busy at the time that I couldn't write it. But then I went on to write Personally, Survival of the Soul, which is really a book about what happens when we die. And so a lot of people have actually said to me, this book is incredible. It's changed my life. It's helped me out. And then I went on to, because I do so many courses, I then have coursework, and I did this beginner's mediumship course, and that's when I went, you know what, let's create this into a book. So I've just brought out I Speak to Dead People, Can You?, which is an 8-week, it's just like a page a day or a chapter a day with an exercise that will help you open up your own abilities. And I'm currently now writing a novel, which I've never written a novel before, but it's about someone who's developing their own psychic ability, which a lot of people are reading at the moment, a few of my friends, and they're like, I wish we had this book when I was developing, because it's about how to incorporate a relationship and how to develop your own psychic ability. So it's kind of cool.
Yeah. What can you tell us about the spiritual e-courses that you have and offer?
Yeah, so these spiritual e-courses, they're based upon a course that I wrote many, many years ago about how to get the best out of your own spirituality and really discover what it is that you have, what ability you have. And so I broke it down into 8 sections, and one was really incorporating into your life meditation, protection, then mediumship, healing, and we go on. And so they're the e-courses, but I'm now changing it where I'm actually doing video courses, and they'll be available in the next month, actually. So I'm actually bringing different courses out now, because I think people learn sometimes better from video.
Right. You also have a blog talk radio show. Why don't you tell my listeners about it, because I want them to know about you and everything that you do.
Yeah, I mean, like you, bringing this into the mainstream is very important, and so I like to make sure that I have, a platform that people can come to, a platform where people can come and have a reading with me. And so it's on a Wednesday at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific on Blog Talk Radio. It's blogtalkradio.com/Lisa Williams, and it really is. We cover all sorts of different topics, and it really is just like a place where people can come and connect.
Wonderful. You are listening to Healing from Within with Tony Valen. Visit our website, healingfromwithin.net, or contact me directly, tony@tonyvalen.com. Please follow the show on Twitter at TVHFW. Learn more about Lisa at lisawilliams.com. Follow her on Twitter at LWMedium. If you were not a medium, what would you choose to be, or what would it have been?
Okay, so good question. I mean, music is my passion. Music is absolutely my passion. I was a singer beforehand. I've just kind of got into my singing again.
Wow.
So I would probably do something in music or art or graphics or something along those lines. But I'm also, I love teaching. And I think as long as I have a subject that I'm passionate about, I can teach it. And I often joke and say I'm a better teacher than I am a medium. But it's quite, yeah. So I think anything to do with the arts, music, or teaching, probably.
I know that in 2004 was when you came to visit the U.S., and I don't know if the information is correct, so you tell me if it's not, or if it is or is not, but you were on vacation and holiday, and you had to extend it because you got ill. Is that correct?
Yes, and you can use the word vacation. I understand that.
Oh, okay.
I've been in America long enough. Yeah, I came here for an extended break. We came over for 87 days precisely, because when you come from England to America, you can only come here for 90 days. Oh. And so we came for 87, just give or take, a couple of days just to, if there was ever a problem. And of course, there was a problem, where I became seriously ill, and I had to have emergency surgery. Wow. And we had to extend my stay by an extra 10 days, which meant we were going over those 90 days. So the embassy were great. They extended our time. And it was in that period of time, that extra 10 days, that I had this meeting with Merv Griffin. It was not planned. It was not scheduled. And when it happened, when the actual meeting happened, it was on the day that I should have been leaving for the UK. It was quite incredible, really. And yes, so that's what actually happened. I stayed. I met Merv Griffin. And he actually said to me, this is so funny, I'll never forget it, this big guy. I didn't know who Merv Griffin was, had no idea. And I walked out of his office, and he walked me out to the elevator that was, took me downstairs to one floor. And it was all padded. He'd got this elevator in, and it was all because of his dog, actually. His dog couldn't walk up the stairs. And so he said, Lisa, just tell me one thing before you go. And I went, what? And he said, why aren't you famous yet? And out of my mouth just went, because I haven't met you, Merv. And it was one of those moments that you just think, God, can you just swallow me up and kill me and die? Because, it wasn't something that I'd planned to say, and it certainly wasn't coming out as being cocky or anything. It just came out of my mouth, and I wanted to take it back very quickly. And he just looked at me, and the doors shut, and it was one of those moments where I went, oh my God, in the elevator, thinking, I hope there isn't a camera in here. Oh. But little did I know that those words were so true.
Wow. And, I'm telling you, it just seems like things happen for a reason. And that jumped out of your mouth at that right time, because that was meant to happen.
Absolutely. It was meant to happen. I had absolutely no idea. And it was pretty incredible, when it happened. It was like, wow. So, yeah, I mean, it was crazy. It was crazy.
And of course, that's when Life Among the Dead came along, and Voices from the Other Side. And Life Among the Dead, that's when I got to know who you were and see you in action. And I was just in awe. And then watching you is when I thought, that's what I want to do. That's what I want. That's the type of healing that I want to do. And I saw your show as just a way of helping and healing people.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome. What was your favorite episode, and what made it your favorite episode?
Well, I'm just going to tell you, and see all my little secrets coming out on your show. I have to tell you, I have never watched a full episode of my show because I refused to. And it was not the fact I was having a diva moment. It was more the fact that I lived that moment with my client. So watching it again and how they edited it really kind of took the edge off the actual reading. But I can tell you the readings that were touching. And the first one that stands out to me like huge is the Joanna reading, where I read for her and her husband got killed through service, where she was in service for his country. I never forget, we were, it was a late night shoot. Everybody was like hustling around. It was one of our first few days of shooting. No one really kind of knew what I was like to work with. They'd all worked with big divas and things like that in Hollywood. Okay. And they were like, Lisa, what do you want to wear? And I went, just put me on anything. So the wardrobe just went, okay, this is what you'll wear. I'm like, great. And they said, how do you want to do this? And I went, I don't know. I don't know how I want to do this. So I was told to walk in an elevator a few times, and I was picking things up in the elevator which wasn't shown on the screen. And I walked in and started the reading. And the one thing that I always, and Merv Griffin made sure that this happened, is that I didn't know anything about the client. I was not allowed to see them. If we passed in the hallway and there was a possibility that we actually had passed, that reading would have been scrapped. I knew nothing. And the other thing is obviously cameras and tapes need to be changed. And so when there was a tape change or a camera change or a battery change, then I didn't stop. They had to just change their battery and camera, and they had to work around it. And from the moment you see me walking in and saying hi and sitting down, and that reading is exactly how it is. And it just had such an impact. It was just so powerful. So that was one of them. And I think there was another one where I did Man on the Street to an English. There was an English couple, and this guy I brought through his friend. Oh, I'm just trying to think. And then there was, fun readings like Shayna Mokler, Lonnie Love, and things like that. So I don't think there was any one particular episode, just several different readings.
Right. And I like I said, I love the show, and it was very touching and interesting. And of course, you get to the part where you're making someone cry, and there I am crying too. It's
yeah,
just very emotional. So did you do any other type of work for Lifetime?
No, I'd never done anything with Lifetime, really. I did. I then went on to do Psychic Challenge, and I was one of the judges on Psychic Challenge. And then I did Voices from the Other Side. I then went on to do Lisa Williams Live, which was a TV show about my live shows, but it was never shown in the US. It was never shown in the US. It was shown elsewhere around the world. But that was it. That's all the TV shows that I actually did.
Yeah. Did they ever tell you why they wouldn't put on Lisa Williams Live in the US?
I don't know. I think it was the fact that our distributor, we really didn't push it that way. In the way that the market is now, obviously there's a lot of hype with Teresa Caputo and everything else. And so everybody, I think the psychic genre has kind of been exhausted a little bit in media, in the TV. And so while they're always searching for the new thing in psychic, it's not new enough. Well, let's face it, all we do is speak to dead people, and it's just trying to find a new spin on speaking to dead people. So, yeah, and so that's what I think the networks are struggling with.
Oh, really? Well, yeah. And I don't know how you feel about what I'm about to ask, but I'm going to ask you, what are your thoughts on other psychics like John Edward, Teresa Caputo, all them?
Well, I mean, I absolutely admire everybody who is in the public eye doing this. Whether or not I believe in how they do it or their gift is a different matter. I mean, typical case of a point in question is Sylvia Browne. You know, not her ethics weren't always there, but quite honestly, you have to admire Sylvia for what she did, because she brought mediumship into the forefront for the last 20 odd years on Montel Williams. I fully appreciate and admire anybody who brings it into the media, into the mainstream, you know, and we'll all have our own different opinions on these people, on different people. Likewise, they would on me. But I admire anybody who's actually doing it in the public eye and bringing it out.
Right. I know that when you were doing your TV show, we got to see a lot of your son, Charlie. How old is he now, and what is he up to?
Oh, my gosh, he's 14. He's wow. 14, and, yeah, he's 14. When you guys saw him, he was 6, yeah. 6 and 7. So, yeah, he's 14. He's a stroppy teenager. He's, you know, at school. He's doing his thing. And actually, we're in Lilydale right at the moment, because we have a house here. And he is as happy as anything. Oh. And he's out playing with kids in the woods, whittling, you know, sticks and things like that. So, and of course, he's a kid. He's just asked me 20 minutes ago, Mom, can I have my computer?
Right.
You know, and I'm like, you're grounded, you know, because he had been grounded, you know, and I took his computer off, and I'm like, oh, I did only take it off him for a week, you know, but I've quite actually enjoyed having my boy back out of the computer screen. Yeah. So it's been quite nice, actually. But, you know, he's just a normal kid. He has his moments. He's a lovable kid. He doesn't quite believe in what I do. He still needs a little bit of proof, even though he's got it himself. He doesn't want to be around it. He doesn't want to be part of it, which is fine. He has a great healing ability, which he's kind of sort of embracing. So there's, you know, he's just a standard kid. You know?
Yeah, that sounds wonderful. And he sounds just like a typical kid. And, you know, I, of course, from the outside looking in, I would think he would be very intrigued with what Mom does and whatnot. But like any kid, when it comes to the parent, they just want to stay away from, you know, whatever the parents do. They don't want anything to do with it because it's not cool, I guess.
Well, that's it. I mean, all his friends at school think it's cool because, you know, he's the kid, sadly, that is, oh, my mum's away again. Oh, my mum's away again. Oh, my mum's away again. So he's that kid. But my parents come in and look after him. I've got amazing parents. And so it's like, well, where's your mum gone this time? Norway. Well, why Norway? And so when I go and do all the school stuff, they go, oh, hi, Lisa, where have you been? And so the kids start asking me all these intriguing questions. They think it's really cool. But he's like, oh, you know, yeah, because he's lived with it. You know, it's been normal for him to see a dead person. It's been normal for me to actually say, oh, you know, hold on, dude, there's someone here. Let's just clear that person over. Or hold on. You know, have you got toothache? All right. Why do you want Advil? Come here. Let me just put my hands on you. You know, so it's like, it's been normal for him, and he kind of goes, oh, here we go again, you know. Yeah. So I think in many ways he just wants to be normal. So I try not to push it on him, but then he'll come home from school and he'll go, Mom, I'm like, yeah, and he's like, we Googled you today, and I'm like, why did you Google me? And he's like, well, because my friends think it's cool. And so there's kind of that aspect going on. So I understand.
That's wonderful. Tell us, what is next for Lisa Williams? Please tell us about where you're going to be and what you're doing. I want all the listeners to know about where you're going to be.
Oh, my gosh. It's crazy. Well, I'm going to be heading off to Sydney in August. So in a couple of weeks, I'm going to Sydney, which is the Festival of Dreams. And then I'm holding a beginner's psychic medium workshop as well. But then I come back to the US and I'm going to be in Omega in Rhinebeck, New York, which is a 5-day advanced healing through mediumship course. And then I'm going to be working with the Princess of Norway, Princess Martha Louise, and her business partner, Elizabeth Norden. And we are going to be doing a workshop in Norway. And then I go on tour in the UK, which is going to be quite exciting because I haven't been back to the UK for a while. Then Scottsdale, Arizona, I'm working with 2 amazing women, Colette Barron-Reed and Denise Lynn. Yes. And the Divine Wisdom Retreat, honestly, I would have to say that is the retreat that if out of anything, if you want to go to, that is, it was just so powerful last year. I just know it's going to be mind-blowing. And then I'm going back on tour, actually. I'm going back on tour to Wilmington. I'm going to Wilmington, Delaware, Pennsylvania, New Haven, or New Hampshire, should I say, Massachusetts and New Jersey to do a live show. And then I'm going to Thailand.
Wow.
I know, Thailand. I'm doing, it's like 20 people, and it's called the Ultimate Balance Retreat. And it's really about bringing spirituality. It's about making changes in your life, intuition, really, really opening yourself up. And if you want to make changes, if you want to really, if you're stuck in a rut kind of situation, this is really the retreat for you, because we will get to the nitty gritty of it. We'll understand, we'll help you. I'm doing private readings there as well. So it's quite kind of cool. And of course, I'm doing all my teaching as well. So, it's fantastic. I love my life.
Wow. I don't know how you have the energy to do all that.
Me either. Don't ask me. I don't even want to think about it.
Well, Lisa, thank you so much for being on our show. If you're ever in Tampa, please Skype me. Let me know. I'd love to buy you a meal and have a discussion with you. You're wonderful.
That would be fantastic. Thank you. I would love that.
Thank you so much. Our thanks to Lisa Williams. You can learn more about Lisa at lisawilliams.com. Follow her on Twitter at LWMedium. You are listening to Healing from Within with Tony Valen here on Blog Talk, airing Monday through Friday, 6 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Central. Visit our website, healingfromwithin.net, or contact me directly, tony@tonyvalen.com. Please follow the show on Twitter at TVHFW. Thank you so much. Love and light from all of us here at Healing from Within.